Well, my name's Joel Lambert. I spent 10 years in the Navy SEAL teams and went all over the world and saw combat in places like Kosovo and Afghanistan. And when I came home from that, got out of the Navy, I got involved in film and television and spent a long time doing a lot of scripted stuff. But then what kind of became my thing was shows on Discovery Channel. I hosted and was the lead talent on several series and one-offs on Discovery Channel. The most well-known one internationally called Manhunt. It was very intense, very exciting, and I did that for many years until I got in a motorcycle accident, smashed my foot, lost that, and still work quite a bit with Discovery Channel and still do quite a bit in the escape and evasion world. But about that time was when I first got introduced to the medicine. And for me, I had heard through friends of mine in the teams, they would mention something about these psychedelic retreats. And every time somebody would say something about it, they'd be like, oop, they clam up and they'd say, I signed some NDAs. I'm not supposed to talk about it. But I just clocked it away in the back of my head. I thought, one day I'm going to look into that and I'm going to get to the bottom of this and I'll find out what that is because that fascinated me. The next morning, I wake up and I feel exhausted, like my body's been wrung out like an old washcloth and thrown in the corner. But I feel clean. I feel so clean. And so we go downstairs and we're all meeting around the fireplace again, and we've got more psychedelics. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm good. I think
Yeah,
I'm good.
it's usually that way, right? Like,
I'm impressed. That was good. I think I'm good. And they're like, no, the 5-MeO is like a nice bookend. It's not at all like the Iboga. I'm like, well, it better not be because I could not do that back to back with what I just experienced. And so we're all sitting around, and the 5-MeO or the toad venom, I know nothing about it. Um, we're there. They say it's a shorter experience, and so we're going to go individually. And I'm the third out of five to go. So um, I go outside by the pool, and they say it's helpful to journal. And so I bring my journal out there. I'm sitting by the pool, waiting for the first guys to go. I'm waiting for them to come get me and be my turn. And I try to write, um, and I write, I don't I. And I can't, I mean, my hand, my brain, and my thoughts and my intentions, none of them are jiving. None of them are mashing up. I'm a complete mess. And I put my pen down and I think for a minute, and out of frustration, I'm like, nothing happened. That was a crazy experience. Nothing nothing spoke to me. Nothing, I didn't get, I don't know what any of that means. And then I just took a moment and looked inside and I felt this cleanliness and purity. Like every bit of scar tissue and accumulated detritus from my entire life had been washed out of me, and I felt clean for the first time since I was probably 10 years old. And I only noticed all these things were gone. That I only noticed that they had ever been there by their absence.
mm,
So as I'm sitting there savoring this feeling, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I get nothing else from this, if none of this ever makes sense again, this right now is worth all of what I went through. This is incredible. And so I started writing and I said, I think I had expectations for the medicines. As much as I tried not to, I had expectations. I wanted a green dragon, you know. I had these expectations, but I don't have any expectations for 5-MeO. I don't even know what it is. They told me it's toad venom. I know nothing. So what it's going to be is what it's going to be. And about at that time, I hear our first guy from the house about 50 yards away screaming like his head is being cut off. I'm like, wow.
oh, that's a good
Yeah,
for
great.
you.
All the windows open, the gauzy curtains blowing in. It's set up beautifully, and the doctor's there, and the integrative people are there, and the team guys that are there to facilitate are there. And I sit down, and everyone's whispering really quietly, and the doctor shows me this vaporizer with this medical caduceus on it, and these little doses, these little glass vials of like tiny little grains, like 2 or 3 grains in each one. It's just a minuscule amount of this toad venom from the Sonoran Desert toad, Bufo. And he says, okay, this is the handshake dose. We're just going to do this to familiarize yourself with the taste and how we're going to go about taking the medicine. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And it's got such a unique taste. I'm glad you did a preparatory one of it because it's a taste you'll never forget. So they give me the handshake dose, and I'm sitting up, and he holds the pipe up to my mouth, and then starts torturing the vial, and tells me to breathe. And so I breathe in, just breathe, breathe, breathe. I'm breathing, breathing, breathing. Just hold, counts down from 10. I exhale. Nothing happens. Cool. Strange taste, but let's move on to the first real dose. That was 10 micrograms, milligrams, I think. And so now we're going to the first dose, which I think is 20. And so he torches that, and I breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, and I hold it 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I breathe out, and I throw my arms back, and I fall back like I'm instructed, and my world explodes, and it's kaleidoscopes of these colors that it's red, it's yellow, it's orange, it's blue, but like I've never seen or experienced before. I'm laying back and I hear the sound of the universe, is om, and I'm laying there and it's just bliss and love and light. And it's amazing. I'm like, this is incredible. And as I'm laying there, just savoring this, especially after the Ibogaine, um,
Yeah.
I remember
Lots to
what one
savor
of
there
the
now.
SEALs told me downstairs as we're preparing for this. He said, this is like a deep dive in the ocean. It's beautiful, it's quiet, you're looking around, it's amazing, and you're just loving it. But then you look over there and there's a pit, a black, deep pit. He says, if you have it in you, go down there because that's where the jewels are. And I thought, okay, I can think of this, I can remember this, so there still must be more to go. So I signaled for more. I signaled for more. They sit me up and they give me the next dose and they torch it and I breathe in and he just counts down from five this time. Five, four, three, two, one, and exhale. And I exhaled and I fell back and I died. I quite literally in my consciousness died. And I felt my body atomize and it was gone. And I was just projected into this black place of pure consciousness. And I know now, I didn't know at the time, but I know now it was a classic Buddhic void at the 850 level, the void. And it was just consciousness. And there was no love, there's no light. It was just pure consciousness, pure power, and pure potential. And I'm just floating in this pure consciousness. And I remember what I am. And at that point, everything changed for me. Everything changed. I remembered what I am. The emotion was overwhelming, and I remembered that how could I have ever have forgotten what I am and what we are? How could I have forgotten this? How can a ripple not be a part of the ocean? How can a drop of water not be part of the sea? How can it not all be contained in that one thing? And I remembered what I am, and it was life changing. I remembered, and I didn't learn anything new. I didn't see anything I didn't understand. All I did was remember. It was a remembering of what we forget when we get put on this meat suit. And as I'm floating in that, just savoring this and having these experiences there, um, at some point, I wondered, I wonder if my body is still breathing because my body, I am completely gone from my body. I feel nothing. Um, with a body. And I wonder if my body's breathing. And then I took a breath and I zoom smack back into my body. And I sit up and I just start sobbing, sobbing. I see light coming through. I rip the thing off my eyes, the eye shade, and I see the light coming through the windows. And the light is tangible. And it's light like I've never seen before or experienced. It's the truth of light. And I see the light coming in. And I begin sobbing with the sorrow of what we've lost and then laughing hysterically with the joy of remembrance. And snot is running out. And I'm sobbing and coughing and crying and laughing hysterically like a loon. And I look around at everyone else sitting around me. And first thing I think I said is I said, I am born. And then I look at all of them. I'm like, you fuckers, I get the joke now. I'm in on the joke. I get it. I get it. I understand the joke now. It's like, and this is the only comparison I can really make, Kim, is it's as if, when somebody's putting on a surprise birthday party for you or something like that, and everyone's acting a little bit weird all day long, but it's not enough to throw you too much, but it's just something's off, something's a little bit weird. And then you walk into the room and everyone's like, surprise! You're like, oh, it all makes sense now. I get it. That's what it's like, but my whole fucking life. I get
Up
it.
until that
Yep,
moment, everybody's been acting
yep.
a little
Yeah,
weird.
it's all everything's been a little weird, but I understand now. I get it, you fuckers. I understand. You're not doing that to me again. And that's what it was like. That's what it's like, and nothing has ever been the same. And I've sat with medicine quite a few times since, and it's been beautiful. It's been amazing. And in fact, I remember the first time I sat with something after this, I was so fired up on this experience. I'm like, I want to do psychedelics every day of my life. It was it
Yeah.
was my first feeling of it before I really integrated everything and really understood what it was that it gifted me with and what I took away from it forever and what I don't need anymore. Although I'll be revisiting for the rest of my life. But I sat with a group in LA with some ayahuasca, and I was very excited about it, and um, I was prepared. I'm like, if it's a light experience, I'm prepared for that. If it's another dark experience, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for whatever the medicine has for me. And so I
Mhm.
take the medicine, and I have no experience, like,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm drinking more and more of this
that
tea, and I'm
happens.
having no experience. I was not prepared for that, which is something that the medicine is going to do to you. You know, and I remember towards the end of the night, I really I didn't have any kind of real psychedelic experience like I expected, good or bad. It was completely indifferent. But the medicine started speaking to me towards the end of the night, and it basically said, and it was beautiful. It started becoming all love and light. And what was conveyed to me very strongly was the work is done. It's all done. You don't need to. The work is done. You can come back anytime you want and visit, but the work is done. And it was amazing.
Wow.
And so all my experiences since then have been amazing. And then I went down and sat with some real maestros, Shipibo maestros down in Soltar in Costa Rica with some ayahuasca, and that was incredible. And we had an amazing time. And the I think the last night, and I didn't find a lot of people, very common with ayahuasca is nauseous and vomiting or diarrhea or things like that is a way that you purge. I found that doesn't, and every time I've sat with ayahuasca, that's not been how I purge. It's been very physical. So I'm I'm like having a grand mal seizure, all night long. But it was amazing. These healers are singing to me their Icaros, those songs, and my body is dancing involuntarily to these songs, and it's just this connection to this love and this realm. And it was beautiful. And it was amazing. It was an incredible experience with my girlfriend, and we just connected on an amazing level. And it was phenomenal. And and a lot of people in our circle had a lot of deep, dark profound experiences. I didn't have that. It was joy and it was laughter and it was amazing. And that's what the what it's been conveyed to me is that the work is done. I don't need the medicine anymore, but it's an amazing thing, and that is a realm and an experience and a connection to myself that I want to connect with over you know many times to come because it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But that's really what it is. What I'm convinced of is it's a key that unlocks the door to your higher self, your deeper self, your true self, the the actuality of what things are, the remembrance of what we really are. Um, but like I think I told you before we started recording, like I think it was Ram Dass who said this. He said, once you get the message, hang up the phone, and that really speaks to me that it is a tool. It's not the medicine, and people tend to get, and I did too, right after my first experiences with the Ibogaine and the 5-MeO because they were so I can't convey with words how life changing. Nothing will ever be the same. My there's not a moment that has gone by since that I've experienced that has been the same as me before that because I've remembered. I remember now, and I don't remember as strongly as I did in the void or in those experiences, but that can never be taken away. You can never not remember. You can never forget again after that. I don't know how that's possible. And so I guess I see people can get too hung up on the medicine and just use and then it becomes a crutch and it becomes, I think, disrespectful to what it is. And then it's like the Buddhists say, it's the finger pointing at the moon, and then the medicine becomes the finger pointing at the moon instead of the moon itself. And just like any religion, and just like Buddha said and all that, I'm the finger pointing at the moon. Look at the moon, not my finger. And that's what I think people can get hung up on, especially with powerful experiences, and get past. The medicine is just a way to facilitate. It's a gift from God that's been given us to remember and to connect and to facilitate our spiritual journey and our vibrational journey back home,
Yeah.
really. And I
Yeah.
guess that pretty much sums it up for me.
And you and I connected like almost 2 years ago, I think, and that you had
Oh,
just come back from your experience. So
yeah.
I think it's well stated, because I think a lot of people, I know for myself, I started with ayahuasca, and I did ayahuasca as often as I possibly could, because I thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful and amazing. And then over the course of 10 years, I did that. And I just recently sat with Iboga, and I completely agree. There is like a remembering. I sat with people who follow the Bwiti tradition, and
Yeah.
they frame it as remembering your soul, like
Yeah.
reconnecting to your soul, and really creating that connection. That it's like, how did I forget you?
Uh-huh.
How did I forget that you were there?
How is it possible? But the meat gets in the way.
It does. It does. Life, the meat, the distractions of all these beautiful things. I'm from LA. You lived in LA for a long time. Like
Yeah.
it is very distracting, and at
It's,
life.
even not in LA, even if you're in Dayton, Ohio, this duality that we have to live in this third dimensional world. We have to live in duality. That's the only way we can understand the third dimensions, and this takes you past the duality and
Yeah.
allows us to remember the singularity and the unity, and it's a beautiful thing. And I don't have any problem with people sitting all the time, or people. It's just I want people to realize what it is that we're doing, which the medicine is allowing us to open this door and walk through it. And I'm going to be using medicine for the rest of my life. I have no doubt in my mind I'll be revisiting. And when I get the balls, I'm going to do 5-MeO again, because that was dying. And that was because when I smoked that and I let go and I died, I panicked. I thought,
Yeah.
oh shit, you did it, you did it, you did, you're dead, you're
You're
dead.
dead. Yep.
I was going into this full blown panic, and I get to the peak of this panic, and I'm about to just fucking lose my mind. And I'm like, it's okay though. You're dead, but it's okay. I'm like, okay, I'm dead, but it's okay. And then that's when I realized where I was at, and I just started floating.
Yeah.
But there was this moment of this rising panic that I had died, and it really was. It really is. And people talk about the ego death, and I think there's levels of it. And you experience ego death, with some 5 grams of psilocybin in dark meditation. But 5-MeO DMT definitely takes you to a level of ego death, which is indistinguishable from real death. And I think, like, somebody else said this. I don't think it was Ram Dass. I think it was Terrence McKenna said that he had some you're probably familiar with this, some Tibetan Buddhist. So one of the big guys, he got him to experience DMT. And after he came back from his trip, the Buddhist was like, "Oh yeah, that was interesting." And Terrence is like, "Holy shit, that was interesting." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, those are the lesser lights." And so they've got it all mapped out. So these guys have got all those realms mapped out. And he said, "Those are the lesser lights." He said, "That's as far as you can go and still come back." And I
Mm,
thought that was really interesting. And that's a profound thing. And I want to experience that again. But Kim, I don't need to, Kim. If I don't ever experience that again, I know I will. This is just a temporal moment here, but I know, I know what's on the other side now, and it's a beautiful thing, and I can't wait.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. There's so many people are applying these medicines to so many aspects of life and mental illness and addiction and things. Primarily, people come to Ibogaine and Iboga for addiction
Yes.
reasons, but and actually DMT as well. There's a large community of people, researchers that are looking at it, but
Yeah, and
ultimately.
traumatic brain injuries and things like that. It's one of the few things that can rebuild neurologically, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But ultimately, we're just all human. You can put it in the framework of scientific research and all of these different compartmentalized versions of thought, but we will die,
Mhm.
and that is what nearly everyone is avoiding, but also interested, like what is over there?
Well,
Like we're
yeah.
all we know that we're gonna have to go there, and there's this and some people spend their entire lives terrified.
Mhm.
But I think folks that have these opportunities, there's a peacefulness
Oh
that
yeah.
you can have within this life, knowing that it's not terrifying.
It's
That
almost eagerness, I mean, just because it's so exciting, the other side is so exciting, and I can't wait to go past where I can't come back.
yeah.
I'm very excited about that. But then at the same time, it makes you really value this experience here because this is critical. This Earth School, what we're doing here, this is critical, and we've been given an incredible gift to be able to experience the things that we've experienced with these medicines. But this is what we're doing right here. This is critical. And what you're saying about, end of life and transitioning, and I think that's super profound. And that's some of the stuff that they were working on in the 40s and 50s before, LSD, before the snapback that Timothy Leary and some of the other people kind of instigated with Congress and the government at the time, which now I think we may be past that. And things like psilocybin and stuff and all the research that's happening and ketamine and stuff. And I think that there's a very good chance that pretty soon, if we can keep the pharmaceutical companies out of it, there could be a very
That's not
ethical
likely.
thing. Although with get me going onto this rabbit holes, but with COVID,
I
I think
like rabbit holes.
I think the pharmaceutical companies might be done completely. But the point I'm trying to get at is things like psilocybin, mushrooms, LSD, ketamine, these sort of things are profound gifts that we can give each other to facilitate those. My grandmother who may be dying of cancer or something and is terrified of it, sit with the 5 grams in silent meditative darkness. And on the other side of that, you know, it's going to be a whole lot better.
Yeah, there's a lot of peace that comes
Oh, yeah.
over a significant period of time.
Oh, yeah.
There's with Iboga and Ibogaine, it's one of the more significant because just for folks watching so that there's an understanding. So Iboga is the plant, Ibogaine is an alkaloid of the plant. And our bodies, our livers produce neuroibogaine. And so once you do a big dose like you and I've done, your liver creates a lot of neuroibogaine, and so you have an experience over maybe 3 to 6 months of a peacefulness that kind of per, just sort of is just constant. At least that was my experience. How did you remember that, or did you have that
Mine too,
experience?
yes. However, I think what that's a different way of putting it than I was seeing it, which is good to hear your perspective because that's I think that's 100% correct. The way I articulated that was that Ibogaine and Iboga is an addiction interrupter, and this is amazing. And Dr. Martin, the guy who facilitated mine, he has worked with heroin and opioid addicts, like people who have no other option, the end of their life and rope with this addiction. And in the first 5 minutes of an Ibogaine experience, those addictions physically and mentally are broken. And it's like, and the way they communicated to me is it's like a snowfall, a fresh snowfall. So you live in a snowy area and you've got tracks for the outhouse and to the to the your meat food storage, and you've got sledding trails all over this hill, and it kind of sucks you in, and these are the patterns, the neural patterns that you have established in your brain. And then an ibogaine experience is a fresh snowfall over all of it. You can walk the same patterns, or you can create entirely new ones because it's all been cleared out. And so I feel like all of my addictions, no heroin or opioids or anything like that, but
Thought
addictions to
patterns.
patterns of thinking, addictions to self images, addictions to everything, good, bad, or indifferent. All the patterns I have as a person were washed clean, and I was able to start over, creating the patterns that I want, get rid of the ones I didn't want. And that, and I still kind of feel that way. You know, it's been years since my Ibogaine experience, and I probably will do it again sometime. I think it's probably a every 7 to decade, maybe. Yeah, it's not something to do more than that. Like I say, this should not be a Schedule One drug. It's not fun.
It is definitely not. I'm curious, did you have the shaking during Ibogaine? Did you do the
um, no, I get the shaking with the ayahuasca. I mean, I'm grand mal seizure with ayahuasca.
yeah, I do that too. It's a little different. There's a Parkinson's. It's
Oh,
similar. It's been explained before that at least with Iboga, and there's so many other alkaloids in there. So I'm not sure what's responsible for it, but that your dopamine reuptake is inhibited, and so
oh,
you're flooded with dopamine, but you're not absorbing any. So just like those with Parkinson's, you shake. So
interesting. No,
this
I
was
didn't
this
know
was
that.
an Iboga experience, and some people I've spoken to have had that in Ibogaine, but not everybody. So I was just wondering what your experience was.
I didn't have that. I can't remember what they call it. I read about it afterwards, but I had a very disjointed, like I could fine muscle movements
Yeah,
and coordination are gone. It's just gross. Like I can raise my arm, but
yeah,
I can't, I couldn't, turn a key in a lock or something like that. If I get up, I'm walking like Frankenstein. I can move my legs, but I'm going to fall down the stairs. It was that kind of thing for me. Very
yeah,
clumsy, very, very clumsy.
yeah, yeah. Same thing. I think maybe with the Iboga, it was also you're probably I don't know how tall you are, but I'm gonna guess you're quite a bit larger than me, and
I'm a small man, no.
yeah, yeah. So, and I took quite a bit of medicine. So there was, they call it the Iboga shuffle because you're just kind of like you need some you have to put your arm around somebody to get to the bathroom.
Yes, yeah,
It's
that's what.
hard. Yeah, but man, it's so interesting because we have these tools. We
Mhm.
have them. I wouldn't say at our disposal because everything we mentioned, with the exception of ketamine, is still a Schedule One substance in the United States. You went to Mexico. I went to Costa Rica from my experience. And there's
Did you go to Woody Life?
no. I went to Soul Centro, which is
I'm not familiar with too many of them. That's the only one I really know down there.
oh yeah, they were primarily serving in Canada, and they just moved their whole operation to Costa Rica. So they're a bit newer down there, but they're fantastic. They've been serving
That
people.
the one, I mean, to derail you, is that the one the Ibogaine documentary was covering up in Canada? Oh, okay. That was a great doc.
Yeah, yeah, that was Mark was mostly in that, and then Patrick is their medical facilitator. He's fantastic, and then Elizabeth Bast and Chor Boogie. Chor has been initiated into the Bwiti. He actually came to Iboga with heroin addiction, and he discovered that his actual blood lineage goes back to the Bwiti in that process. And
That,
so yeah, so they go to Africa every year and bring people to have that experience and
wow.
yeah, meet the Bwiti. Yeah, it's pretty
That's great.
wild.
Yeah, sorry, so I didn't mean to interrupt. But
No,
that's
it's okay.
cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it was Dosed was a documentary that was done about them. You see Chor and Elizabeth just a little bit at the end when they're actually serving medicine, but yeah, it's pretty wild.
Well, yeah, I
But
said Canada, so I thought, oh, I wonder if that's the. Yeah.
yeah, they're wonderful friends and delightful humans. But yeah, but we have access to these sort of,
Yeah.
but we're still in that space of I mean, really, the purpose of wanting to speak with you again, other than saying hello because it's been a long time, was to allow people to understand a little bit more about it, have a personal experience from your perspective of a couple different medicines, and also to allow people to understand that, to normalize that this is a thing that we can do, come back out the other side and be changed in a significant way, also to kind of share a little bit about what the experience is like, but also that these can't really be abused. I can't imagine. I mean, can you imagine attempting to go through life hitting a DMT vape? Can
No,
you just
this is not. I mean, while that was the most profound and most precious experience of my life, it was. I thought I was sure I had died. I went through a death experience. It's not fun, and like I said, I want to do that again because that was the most profound experience I've ever had. I'm scared of it. I'm scared of it. It's not something, and that's the reason why they're Schedule One is not because someone mistakenly believes that these could be abused. It's because there's no money in curing people and there's no money in plants. You can't patent a plant. And this goes back to Pfizer and Moderna and the rest of those evil bastards and the politicians that they have in their pockets. That's why. And it's unfortunate because all of these opioid deaths and all of these heroin addictions that we're feeding methadone to, and they're shitting on the sidewalk, and there's needles everywhere, and there's people like, oh, what do we do? Well, 42 cents worth of an African shrub can cure like 80% of these people, but there's no money in that.
right,
And
right.
that's the sad truth. But the more we can get this out to people so they understand it, the more healing can happen.
Yeah, yeah. And you went back down. I remember you had said you were going to go back down to Mission Within and just sit, just as kind of like a support to some other
Yeah.
guys. Did
I've
you?
been down several times to support other guys and go down and watch, and it's been fascinating to watch. And the one thing that I took away from that, I took away a lot, but the thing that I took away, excuse me, that was the most significant, I think, is the profound difference in experiences between guys who just like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll go do that. It sounds like fun. And they don't do, they don't prepare themselves for it versus people who really come down prepared, who have done the work, who have opened themselves up, who have gone through the little dopey workbook that they send you and have asked themselves those questions and have written out their mantras and had written out their goals and had done the stuff that seems like it's kind of dopey. The people who did that had the profound experiences. And the people who didn't, who just relied on the medicine, generally they're coming back. They're trying to do it again because they realize that they screwed up, or they walk away thinking that that's all bullshit. But the medicine is not the cure. You are the cure. The medicine is the key. It's just a key that unlocks a door. You have to unlock the door. You have to twist the knob. You have to push it open, and you got to walk your happy ass through that door, and then that's where the magic happens. It's not the medicine. The medicine is a facilitator, but you have to realize what it is, and it's not. It's a facilitator.
Yeah, yeah. And these experiences, you're right. If you don't prepare for them, if you don't, there's a certain. I mean, there some people, as you said, you were like, it didn't seem really weird for them to be smudging me because it just felt like a good preparation. The reason there's ceremonial aspects to these things is so that there's reverence, and we have ceremony in our lives. And this is, maybe another topic for another time, but Elizabeth does work quite a bit with addiction, and she had a series that she shared that we discussed ritual. I took part in the series, and we discussed the importance of ritual because addictions are rituals,
Yes, yes.
whether they be mental rituals. If you wake up and you go and you get your cup of coffee and then you have a grumpy attitude and then you move into the next place of being angry at the world because you have to go to a job you don't like, or blah 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 blah, those are rituals.
Absolutely,
And if
absolutely.
we can pattern interrupt, like you mentioned, with these medicines, and then decide new rituals, that can be, that's life changing. Even if you pattern interrupt without the medicine and start the preparation, like you said, things were starting to come up because you made space for that. If you
Yes,
keep
yes.
doing your normal day, that's
Mhm.
another story. But you had an opportunity. You're like, oh, I've got this workbook, I'm going to take this on and take a look, and stuff started to come because there was space for it.
Mhm.
So it's
And I didn't have to do anything with that stuff. I just allowed it. I just,
Yeah.
like you said, that's a great way to say it. I just created space for something to happen, for something to come up, for whatever the medicine was going to do, and it will do it. It will bring you not necessarily what you want or what you expect, but exactly what you need. And I had not what I expected and not what I wanted, but
Yeah.
more than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
More than I ever could have imagined. Almost every time I've sat with medicine, it's been more than I ever could have imagined, and especially the iboga and the Ibogaine and the five, um, and every ayahuasca. It's always been more than I could have imagined, and it's never been what I expected. Never.
No green dragons, but
Green
some
dragons.
nightmares that
Yes,
were helpful.
the green dragon will show up when I give up on having a green dragon.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Joel. This
Oh,
is
it's been a
really
great time.
awesome.
Good connecting again.
Yeah, very much. Thank you. Yeah, and do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing with your VR? I know it's
Yeah.
completely unrelated, but it kind of is because you're going into an alternative reality with
True,
VR. So
true. Yeah, so what I did all these shows for Discovery Channel, and my shows were they categorized them in the survival category, but what they really were is escape and evasion, which is when people ask me what is escape and evasion, it's a military tactic, and the easiest way I can explain this is Rambo, First Blood. That's escape and evasion. Everyone's coming after him, and he's hiding in the woods, and he's setting booby traps, and he's avoiding them, and he's ambushing them, and that's what escape and evasion is. And so when I do these shows on escape and evasion, everyone who watched them just got fired up on the booby traps and the primitive skills and the deception trails and the anti-encounter tracking and all the stuff that I do. And they always wanted, are you going to do a like an online course or something? No, I'm not going to do that. And like, are you going to do like a celebrity series like with Bear Grylls when he does his celebrity series? I'm like, well, my cameraman gets me caught sometimes, so I'm not taking Kim Kardashian out there.
that
You know, that's going to be
would not be
completely.
a good idea.
So I thought, what am I going to do? And then after I'd gotten my motorcycle accident, before I got back kind of doing stuff with Discovery Channel, I had done some things with virtual reality, shooting some virtual reality stuff in Scandinavia.
Mm.
And I really like virtual reality, but virtual reality isn't easily monetizable or usable small scale. It's the kind of thing that Chevrolet is going to do a big display thing or for the Super Bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
But augmented reality, which augmented reality is digital overlays on the real world. So augmented reality, Pokemon Go, I'm looking through my mobile device, the camera on my mobile device, and they're geotagged things that are pinned to a location that show up, whether they're
Oh, it's an AR game. Sorry, I misspoke. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So augmented reality, that's where everything's going to be changing. All the big companies, Samsung, Apple, Google, all the big companies are spending billions of dollars on software and hardware development for augmented reality, for advertising, for education, for travel, for gaming, which is the big one, military applications. There's just massive, massive applications for this, and it's going to be the thing. And I don't think I'm stretching at all when I say this is going to be the next big change in digital experience in on the globe. Augmented reality is the next big change that's happening at the level of the internet and Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
And so what I created was this game, augmented reality mobile game that is based on escape and evasion. It's called Escape and Evade Mobile. You can go to escapeandevademobile.com and sign up for updates and stuff. We've got a lot of very exciting stuff that we've already shot and put together that's going to be coming out. We're not spamming you or anything,
Mhm.
but we're building this augmented reality game, and everyone that we've pitched it to and that we've talked to is very, very excited. We have a bunch of big investors that are very excited, and augmented reality companies that are building this, and um, distributors, and it's very exciting. It's a super cool idea, and it's going to be a blast. And the cool thing is that kids are going to be on their mobile devices. You're not going to get the mobile devices away from them, but I can get them outside and I can get them running around and playing the world's most sophisticated, badass game of hide and seek, interacting with people
Love it.
virtually and physically, and getting outside and moving their bodies and doing it, being plugged in, but still being
Doing
human
stuff,
beings.
not just sitting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and maybe interacting with their friends who are
Yes,
also
yeah, exactly. And that's
love
part
that.
of it, is interacting with their friends and hunting people and tracking them. And real people, you know, leaving virtual footprints around the neighborhood. It's pretty cool.
Oh, how fun. Wow. Well, I think I think psychedelics are a little bit of a precursor to that augmented reality. Kind of helps get you
Yeah,
involved, not the
drop a tab and then go play my game.
yeah. Maybe only in a big open desert or something.
Hypothetically. Hypothetically.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Joel. I really appreciate your
Great
time.
time, Kim.